an insurance company make money? Caleb, what do you think? How do they make money? Good, good. So what they're paying, the monthly payment or whatever that they make, or the annual payment, that's the premium, right? So premium in the insurance company, this is your payment for the insurance. Paid monthly or periodically. Let's just put it that way. It could be quarterly, it could be annually. But mostly people, like if you think about your auto insurance, you're paying it monthly. Okay, good. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, Sienna. So this is how money comes into the insurance company. What's their cost of doing business? Give me one of their costs of doing business for the insurance company. We're trying to think of how does the insurance company make a profit? So Caleb correctly identified that we're going to collect premiums from people. They're going to collect premiums from people. People are going to be making monthly payments. And then what's going to be one of their big expenses? Paying for accidents, right? So paying the benefits out from the insurance or insurance claims. So profit is going to be collection of premiums minus the payment of claims, insurance claims, or sometimes the insurance benefits. We don't think of it as a benefit necessarily if you got hurt in a car wreck or something, but it's the benefits from maybe a life insurance policy. So that's more or less and then of course the insurance company has payment of overhead and labor and copy machines and buildings and rents, all the other stuff that goes along with the business. But that's basically the insurance business. So the benefits are claim. So the claim or slash benefit is the amount the insured gets paid upon an event. So like an accident, for example, or a death. Accident or death, for example. Okay, good. How about deductible? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7. Alyssa, you're lucky contestant number 3 here. A deductible. You guys should be through video number 3, so some of these basics have been covered. I'll give you a hint. It's kind of another payment that you have to make. So the one payment is your car insurance. Every month you're paying $120, right? That's the premium. And then what about a deductible? It's another form of payment. Take a stab. It's okay to be wrong.
Like a longer month, maybe?
A what?
Like a longer month time to pay for it?
No, it's not like a payment plan or something, no. Anybody want to help? Deductible? Anybody had to pay it? Raven, what do you got?
It's what the insured has to pay before insurance will help out after an accident. After
an accident, that's right. So a deductible, first of all, is dependent upon an event happening, right? So deductible is the amount paid by insured when an event occurs. So it's also called co-insurance. It's like you're both insuring it a little bit. So probably the classic example is your automobile. If you have $1,000 deductible and you end up getting into a wreck that is $3,000, you're going to pay $1,000 and the insurance company is going to pay $2,000, right? So it's a shared liability if an accident occurs. That's our deductible. Same thing with health insurance. We're going to do some examples today on different ways we can have insurance laid out. So you pay 80% or 20%, so you pay 20% of each claim up to some sort of maximum out of pocket. So that's another one that we can do that's mostly related to health insurance. So maximum out of pocket. So maximum out of pocket, usually related to health insurance. This is the max amount the insured will pay in a given year. So for example, how health insurance might work is, so let's put health. Your health insurance plan, which again, we're going to do an example today, might be 80% covered, 20%, so it's called an 80-20 plan, 20% paid by insured, up to the max of, it might be like $1,000. So if you go into the doc and you end up having a $1,000 procedure done of some sort, you're going to have to pay $200 of it. And the company's going to pay $800 of it. And now you have 200 of your $1,000 max used up. So then if you end up coming down with a bad case of cancer and you have a $100,000 treatment, you would, under this plan, be responsible for $20,000, but that's not going to happen. You're going to hit your maximum. You're still going to pay $1,000 of your cancer treatment that costs $100,000, but you're going to max out on your maximum out of pocket and only have to pay $1,000. Okay, questions on that? Okay. See what else here. Those are the main ones I wanted to hit, I think.
I was gonna ask, so
Yeah.
what would they do with the other 19,000 if you couldn't pay the rest of the 1,000?
All policies with health insurance are going to have something along the lines of maximum out of pocket. Are you saying if you're uninsured or?
I'm saying if you're reaching max and you don't have more to pay.
Oh, the company's paying. Yeah. So now the company on the $100,000 deal, they're basically going to pay $99,000 or 99% of the cancer treatment. Is the way the policy is designed, And so cancer is very unlikely, but of course possible. And so part of what the insurance company is doing in terms of trying to maximize profits is they're going to have to build in the small chance of having a $100,000 bill on you into the premium. But they're collecting these premiums from everybody, right? And so they're not going to have, not everybody's going to come down with the $100,000 cancer treatment. And so they're spreading out the risk. Okay, so now let's look at the discussion questions. So you guys had some of them assigned for the 1 and 2, and then we had video number 3 due last night. So let's especially with some of the things that have gone down. So what is Let's look at this as a college student. What did you guys put down? This was from section 2, the second video. What unexpected accidents could happen for college students? We said just kind of throw some out there. Car accident, pretty common, right, Taylor?
Could like tear ACL.
Yeah, I was wondering if somebody was going to bring up the ACLs. Everybody, there's always somebody on crutches here at OU. Seems like a little less this year, maybe due to COVID or something, but somebody's always running around with something along those lines. And so I know Ottawa University has some sort of health plan for you guys that you pay for as either built into your tuition or it's a separate thing, even though you may have some of the stuff covered by your parents too. Does anybody know a little bit? I don't know actually all the details with how Ottawa does. I know that there's some sort of plan. Does anybody know, has anybody had an injury where Ottawa covered part of it or all of it, or anybody in here have that? So I suspect it could work similar to the way Medicare and Medicaid works, is that Ottawa you might be covered under your parents' plan, and then, but there's still a deductible, like maximum out of pocket, the 80-20 thing going. And so the $200 part of your $1,000 treatment, that $200 part might be covered by Ottawa's plan, so that you guys don't have, so you or your family don't have anything out of pocket. I suspect that's probably how it works, but I'm not sure. So lots of different ways that can be set up. So what is self-insurance? I kind of have my own handwritten question here. What is self-insurance? So let's see, we left off with Alyssa. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Julio, what do you think about self-insurance? It was mentioned in the videos. What does it mean to be self-insured? Kinda, yeah. Okay, well, not if it's the amount that if your premium is coming out of your paycheck for tax purposes. That's not what self-insurance is. You're still you're paying the company. That's part of your regular insurance. So what does it mean to be self-insured? Or at least partially self-insured. Maybe another way to look at it. Yeah, good. That's exactly right, Caleb. What money are we having as part of our plan? What money as part of our plan is basically self-insurance? Emergency fund. Good, Taylor, right? So that's what you're doing, is you're just self-insuring yourself. So baby step number 1 is what? $1,000 emergency fund. Good. And then baby step number 3, 3 to 6 months of your monthly expenses going towards this fund, or saved aside, I should say, as kind of self-insurance. Because why do we have it? Oh, the car broke down, right? Oh, instead of having a company pay or buying, you guys have maybe heard of that, like if your car breaks down, you can have a policy that helps you fix it or something. Don't ever buy those. Those are usually junky products that aren't worth it. If you have a plan for yourself where you're self-insured, you have a car fund that when your car breaks down, you pay from there, or maybe you pay from your emergency fund, depending on how bad the situation is. So that self-insurance part is coming from our emergency fund. Now, how can you reduce your premiums? This was brought up in the video too. So it's kind of a technique, or it's just a matter of the way the insurance industry works. So how can we make, if this was $120 a month, how can we reduce it? What's something we can do to reduce our premiums? What's that? Find a new company, sure, yeah, you could shop around, and let's just say that you've got basically the best deal that you can find. But yeah, that's a good suggestion, Josh. We always want to be shopping and negotiating, right? Kind of asking what we can do. Yeah, hey, yeah, sometimes they do give discounts for that. That's not what I was looking for, but you guys are both coming up with good examples. There are a lot of companies that if you pay instead of monthly, you pay the whole bill up front, like the whole year's premium, they'll give you a discount of some sort. It might be 10% discount or 5% discount. But if you have the money, that's a way that you can lower your effective premium. Okay, good. There's another one that's kind of related to your emergency fund. That's why this question follows the other one. And it's related to this as well, the deductible. How can we lower the premium by playing around with our deductible? You guys think of yourself being this profit insurance company. They're collecting these premiums, but they have to pay out claims. We've got the premium part of the equation, the deductible part of the equation. What could we do?
Can't you make your deductible higher to make your?
Yep, very good, Taylor. So if you currently have a $500 deductible on your car, that means if you get into that $3,000 wreck, the insurance company is going to have to pay $2,500, right? But if you raise your deductible to $1,000, that means the insurance company is only going to have to pay $2,000 if they get into a wreck. So what you're doing with this equation is you're saying, hey, insurance company, I'll be responsible for more of the wreck by raising my deductible, but of course, that means I should pay less per month, right? Less of the premium. So that is something you can do when you have an emergency fund. It's pretty easy. Do you have an extra $1,000 laying around to raise your deductible from $500 to $1,000? Absolutely, right? And better yet, there's this also part, what economists call moral hazard. If you are more responsible for getting into a wreck, how's your driving? Are you more careful or less careful when you're more financially responsible for damages if you get into a wreck? You're more cautious, a little more careful, or you're a little more mindful. And by the way, that's part, the insurance company knows that. That's part of why they give you a break on the premium. Also is that their statistics show that you're going to tend to be a little bit better driver if you're willing to take on more of the responsibility if there's a wreck. If you raise your deductible, then you're going to lower your premium. Okay, questions or comments there? All right. So video number 3 said, why do so few people carry long-term disability coverage? So what was long-term disability coverage, first of all? What is a disability policy? Maybe we should back up real quick to what we did on, I guess it was on Zoom when we did this. So here's the 7 types of insurance that we're honing in on that Dave recommends. Otherwise, other policies are probably not needed or not wanted if you've got other financial plans. So renter's insurance or homeowners, auto, health, disability, and it says here when you are established in your career. And then we've got long-term care insurance when you're 60 years of age or older, identity theft, and life insurance. So back to this video section 3, we've got long-term disability. So what is disability coverage? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Taylor.
Isn't disability coverage if you get injured at work, they'll pay you?
Yeah, so it doesn't have to be at work, but you're right, that's a form of it, and that's probably almost one of the more common ones, and that's called workman's compensation. So if you've heard of somebody on a workman's comp claim because they cut their finger off on the slicer at Arby's when they were slicing up the roast beef or something, right? So you could have a disability claim possibly from that. Maybe that just puts you out of work for a couple of months or something, so it might be short term. They were able to stitch your finger back together, or once it got healed, you were able to get back to work. So that could be a short-term disability. What would be a long-term disability? And so just to be back on the workman's comp claim, it doesn't have to be at work. So you can have disability coverage that's not work-related as well. So you can go out to an insurance company and just buy your own disability policy. If you are self-employed, if you're running your own business, you might want to have that, especially if you're running a restaurant where things like slicer accidents and other things could happen. You can have a disability policy so that if you get injured, especially as the small business owner, you'd be covered for something like that, with the loss of wages or loss of income. So give me an example of a long-term disability. What's going on there? What, John? Paralyzed, yeah. So something happens and you are paralyzed from the waist down, and you used to be a basketball player, came to mind. You're not necessarily an NBA level basketball player, but you're in the minor leagues, so to speak. So you make a nice little income, and now you're paralyzed from the waist down. So you got long-term disability. You can have a policy that would pay for you to have your income restored probably for the rest of your life. And you can pick those types of policies, as awful as they sound. You can get those types of policies pretty cheaply. It's not that expensive to have a long-term disability plan. Why? Because it's unlikely. Good, Caleb. So you're back to the business plan. The business model of the insurance is, well, we might have to pay this person $80,000 a year for the rest of their life if they get paralyzed from the waist down. Is that going to happen to somebody? Yes. But how likely is that? Very unlikely. And so the probability of having to pay out a claim like that small, which then makes the premiums relatively small. So you can pick up those payments cheaper. Okay. So identity, I think we talked about this with the identity chapter. I don't think you guys had, I gave you an example of me having some identity theft. All right, so let's get into the last video section here. Okay, so turning to the discussion questions here. I want you guys to write this one on your paper. So discussion question number 1, why does cash value insurance look attractive initially? And why is it terrible in the long run? Why does cash value insurance look attractive initially? Why is it terrible in the long run? Give you a couple minutes to get your answers down, and then I'll randomly select one of you to share your work. Okay, it's something a little more tangible, right? Since it's built it into the policy. Okay, good. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Samad, why is it terrible in the long run? Yeah, we went over it in the video that it's like, it looks kind of appealing. I think I agree with Anna that it just, well, there's something there, right? There's cash value, you're making payments every month, and it's something you can see. But it turns out to be pretty terrible in the long run. Why? Okay, good. So it's not compounding, it's not growing like you could do yourself with the alternative. Which one's more expensive? Term policy or whole life? Which one has the bigger premium? Whole life does. So the example we went over in the video was a 20-year term policy with even a lot more coverage, more than double the coverage, triple the coverage, is only $10 a month versus $145 a month, right? So that's a big difference in policy, and that's why it's terrible if we start to analyze what we could do with the money. So using his numbers now, we can say, oh, okay, I can do a 20-year term. Now, at the end of 20 years, what's the catch with term life insurance? If you guys start off at age 23 and come age 43, and what happens to your coverage at age 44? Okay, the rates go, well, actually, what happens to this policy? You're right, the rate would go up if you did a new policy. But what happens to this policy? It ends. If you die, if your policy ends at age 43 in January and you die in February, you get nothing. You paid for 20 years. Of course, granted, remember, you only paid $10 a month. So you paid for $10 a month, and then you die, you get nothing. Now, right away, you guys are thinking, oh, that's bad. No, it's not, because you have a plan. If you have a plan, you can make it work for you. So what was the nature of the plan of how eventually you can self-insure yourself? What was his technique that he was illustrating on the video? What are we going to do? Good. Invest, and invest what? Like there's a specific amount, but you're absolutely right. Where are we getting the numbers? Like here's one plan, I'm thinking about doing this one, or I could do this one. So Hannah's right, we're going to invest in the mutual fund, but what's the amount we're going to invest every month? No, that was kind of the rate of return that you might be getting. I don't know if that's what you're looking at. That might be our benefit, which we'll get to. But I'm thinking about doing this one, or I could do this one and invest an amount of money. You know, look at the details here. What would be a good amount of money to invest? The difference, yeah, right? So you're thinking about spending 145 a month, or I could spend 10 and then invest the extra 135, the difference between the two. Use the green marker here. So, and 135 per month investment. Why am I doing that? Well, got a whole bunch of reasons why. So I went to, you can use our financial calculator on the Dave Ramsey site if you want, but their little, their diagram or their picture's not working right now. So I gave you guys in your notes. This is kind of fun because this is a nice little introduction into next chapter and really the rest of the course. We're going to be talking about investing. So this is one of those elements, one of those times. So here in the middle, we've got the variables that you need. And you guys have already done some of these with your interest fees exercise and other things. But let's just take that 135. We start with 0. We invest 135 monthly at an interest rate in our mutual fund expected to be, let's say, 10%. We'll get into more to the range and what you could pick. But it's a pretty decent one if you got it in the right stuff to put 10%. And then we're going to let that thing grow for 20 years. So at the end of 20 years, you die in February, your thing expired in January, you get nothing. You don't get the 400,000. But if you did this, you have $100,000 at this point saved up. So you've got 100,000 there, and you could buy another $100,000 policy to supplement it if your goal was to get up to 400. If we let this ride a little further and go to 30 years, because now we're just letting it continue on, we have $307,000. Now, at age 43, by the way, are you likely to die? No. If you make it to age 43, are you likely going to make it to age 60? Yeah. Statistically, you're likely. So you pull out another term policy. I think, as maybe Caleb said, it might be $20 a month now because you are older and you might have slightly increased chance of dying, but it's still pretty cheap compared to a whole life. And so now you can start kind of planning your retirement around term policies as you continue to grow your nest egg further and further up. And this was with just putting the 135 tucked away. Once we get into the investing, we'll get into even more. What is it at 40 years now? I continued to tuck that away. I've got $860,000 that I've self-insured by diligently putting away $135 a month since I was age 23. Now I'm 43, now I'm 63. And I haven't died yet. But do I need the whole life policy? This one, if I had died any time in between there or sometime during my life, this would have been the payment, 125. But instead, you've got 860. Lot better deal. So one of the things that we didn't talk about in how insurance companies make money is they are taking your premiums and they are investing them in the mutual funds. And so that's what Dave said. Instead of allowing the insurance company to make the profit, you make it while keeping yourself insured along the way by using term policies in the unlikely event that you die. All right, questions or comments there? Pretty cool technique, Taylor.
Do you know what mutual funds and where to invest?
Yes, I do. And I'm going to tell you all the not so secrets next chapter and next chapter. So yes, we're going to spend, that's what chapter 10, which we're starting tomorrow, by the way. I did move the chapter 9. We're going to do an exercise now with insurance. There's one more thing that we'll end up doing tomorrow on insurance. So I changed the due date from Thursday to Friday for the insurance, this insurance chapter. But we are done with the video. So if you wanted to work ahead, you're of course welcome to always. Okay, so that kind of teased us up for insurance. So now pull out your piece of the paper. Raven, if you can go to the comparing car insurance rates, chapter 9 activity, that's what we're going to be going over. All right, so here we've got a driver. And how old is this driver? 16. Okay, so we got a 16-year-old driver over here on the left. So if you can just, if you want to just follow along, you can kind of circle these things. Somewhat of a Where's Waldo? Does this person have a good driving record? Yes. How can you tell? No points. So you're familiar with the point system. Does that mean you have a lot of points or 0 points, Josh?
My parents are cops.
Your parents are what?
Cops.
Cops. Oh, okay. So they have informed you of the point system. Okay, I got it. So we have 0 points, and then we get some of these discounts here. So we get a car with a seatbelt. Wow, that's kind of funny, right? But that's true. Not all cars have seatbelts, believe it or not, way back when. You can fit them afterwards. But that's just something that's, how it would really work is that, of course, most cars have seatbelts, but they would just charge you 20% more if it didn't, I think is how that would work. Airbags, most cars have airbags now again, but a little bit of discount there. Why are they giving you discounts there? Why is the insurance company, our profit-making insurance company, why are they giving you a couple breaks there? Less likely to die, right? Less likely chance of them getting a premium if you got an airbag and it has some medical bills. And then finally, the 10% honor roll discount. That one, why are they doing there? Is that kind of a public service thing? They want to help kids get good grades, and hey, you'll get a 10% discount if you keep your grades up, kids. Are they trying to give positive incentives for kids to get good grades? Part of their public service type of thing? Why are they doing it, Caleb? What do you think?
Because get that
Yeah, exactly right. So they're not trying to reward you or anything. It just turns out from their data, they pay out less claims if you are on the honor roll. So students that are decent in school are statistically less likely to get it. How statistically less likely? Probably 10%. That's why you're getting a 10% discount. So when they do their little probability calculation, they have found that 10% fewer claims go out to honor roll students. And so they pass the buck. Now, they have to kind of pass the buck due to competition in the marketplace, because if they didn't give you a better deal as an honor student, State Farm is, right? So all of them kind of are doing this, looking at the data, who's got the, who's a better driver, who's not. What about this gender discrimination? Who pays more, guys or gals? Guys tend to be statistically, again, more likely to get into a wreck and have to pay some premiums. They've got data to show it. It's not because they hate guys more, they're trying to give women discounts. It's all just based on the data. and this profit calculation. So that's another thing that can creep up. Okay, what's this PIP all about? What does PIP stand for? Anybody know what PIP stands for? I have a little bit of a hint here. Excess medical, so personal injury protection. So personal injury protection. Personal injury protection. Sometimes there's different lingo across the country, but that's what the PIP stands for. So we're going to cover medical expenses from a wreck and lost wages too. If you're out of your job because you're in the hospital for a couple weeks or you end up getting physical therapy. So you're going to have that stuff covered. Underinsured versus uninsured. So we got this 100-300 business, pretty cheap, $8.14. So what is going on here with the uninsured versus underinsured? I thought this is my insurance policy. I'm already insured. So what are we paying for? What are you buying here for $8 per month? Or maybe this is per year. Yeah, this is per year. Oh no, this is not. Probably it should be. I'm a mistake here. What do you think that would be? Uninsured. You're paying it. Think about if you get into a wreck and it's their fault.
Oh, they're uninsured.
They're uninsured, yes. So this is pretty low because is insurance required to be on state roads driving? Yes, you have to have your car insured by law. So you're going to pay a criminal penalty or a fine if you're caught without insurance. So in order to drive, you have to have insurance. So if you get in a wreck and that person is uninsured, then your company is going to pay for your bills, right? Which is not normally the case. And then underinsured is if they don't have enough coverage. So they had a policy, but it wasn't enough to cover all of the bills that were due from it, and it was their fault. They might be underinsured, so you're going to have a policy for your company to pay that. All right, so that's kind of the breakdown here. Now, if you flip it over, how does quote number 2 compare with quote number 1 in terms of the premium? Way more expensive, triple almost. Check it out right here. Are they driving a better car? Is that up because of the car they're driving? No, it's still the Chevy Cavalier, 2007, 16-year-old, 0 points. The discounts are all in place. So what's driving this premium to be so much more? What's that? I just couldn't hear you all the way. The collision, right? So look at that. The collision, broad collision. What is collision? $762 of this increase from what we had on the other page is for collision. What is collision? What's that? Their fault? No. You get into a wreck. Did we have collision on the first quote? No. So it's something we're adding. So the first quote was a lot lower. What do we kind of call that usually? If you got the lowest premium possible, you're driving kind of a junker car, so you're just carrying with an L. Liability, good. So oh yeah, I just got liability insurance, right? So liability insurance is if you get into a wreck and you wreck your car and you wreck somebody else's car and it's your fault, then your company pays the other guy's car and medical expenses. But do they cover you? No, or at least not your car. The medical covers you if it was your fault, but it's not going to cover the car. So your car gets totaled and it's a $4,000 car, bye-bye car. You don't have it anymore. The insurance company's not going to pay it. So with collision, they are paying for your car when it's your fault. If it's not your fault, by the way, the other guy's insurance is always going to pay it anyway, right? And then you got the underinsured and all that. So here, what's jacking up the policy is the collision is the biggest factor. Now, we also have this other than collision, which we always call it, I'm from Minnesota originally, in Iowa, we call it comprehensive coverage. So what's comprehensive coverage covering? What do you think? Other than collision. So collision is, you get in a collision and it's your fault. What would comprehensive coverage or other than collision coverage cover? How about the county roads of Kansas? You're driving down, it's dark out. What might you come across, especially in Kansas, maybe a lot of other states too? Deer, right? So you hit a deer, you collide with the deer, and they can do some damage to your car. Your comprehensive policy is going to cover that. Another thing that we get hit with in Kansas a lot during the summer, what are those little falling hard pebbles from the sky? Hail. So hail damage is comprehensive. So kind of natural disasters is going to be covered if there's a lightning strike or a tree branch falls on your car, which, let's see, do I have that here? It's kind of my favorite picture while I'm talking here. So that is the comprehensive coverage. And otherwise, do the other ones, are they different? Or is that pretty much the lion's share of it? Let's see. It's a nicer car. Yeah, look over to the left. We're driving a 2008 Beamer Z4 sports car, so it's kind of zippy. $2,286. So that one jacks up pretty bad. I found my picture that I wanted to share with you guys of comprehensive coverage. That is my car in my driveway where I live 2 blocks from campus. This is a tree that was right here. It kind of went and stabbed my car. And so I had they totaled it out. I think I had a $1,000 deductible, and I got a check for $6,300, $6,400, something like that. So that is comprehensive for the tree falling. And then it turned out pretty good, because then I found another car in Ohio that was just like it, that had 100,000 miles less, and I was able to buy that for $6,800. So for $500, I ended up buying basically the same car back with 100,000 less miles. So all in all, it turned out pretty good. That is comprehensive coverage there. All right, so last thing to wrap up today is to look at either this one or this one, doesn't matter which one. When are you required to have full coverage like this to pay this kind of bill, 3 times the amount compared to just carrying liability? When are you required to have full coverage? Julio? When you got a car payment. Baby step number 2? Pay off all debt. So do you do car loans anymore? No. So with a car payment, you have to pay full coverage. And your rates very well might be 3 times what they are for driving something where you only have to carry liability. So it's a huge financial gain in your direction if you don't have to carry that, and you just have to carry liability. Now, you're taking on additional risk. So if you get in a wreck, you have to pay for your car's damage. But what do we have as a backup plan for that? The emergency fund. You're self-insuring, right? You're kind of thinking the game a little bit differently, saving on some premiums. I just drive liability. I do have comprehensive because of the tree, but I don't carry full coverage on any of my cars. So my newest car I have, as you already shared with you, is the 2006. And so you can have some low premiums by avoiding car debt and having just liability coverage. All right, we'll call it there today. One other thing, but escaped me, was kind of just related to this. Turn in your handwritten sheets. Oh well, I'll think of it tomorrow. Just a nice little pad. Oh, well, I know it was raised the deductible, we're gonna do an exercise, but that's not what it was. See you tomorrow. Oh, I know what it was. Not a big deal, but you guys can still stand up and leave if you want, but, my first car got totaled twice. So we just carried liability and people hit it, and it was like I don't know, $3,000 car, and it was older, and so basically the damage to repair the fender was the value of the car. So we got it totaled. And then I took it to my mechanic and he banged on the fender and it still looks pretty decent, right? So I drive around. Next year, somebody hits the bumper and the bumper gets punched in and I caught another total claim. So that car got paid for twice by carrying just liability and driving a different car that didn't mind having a few dents. That car stuff can be expensive. All right, see you tomorrow.